Welcome to Amazon Legends, where we have real stories about making it big on Amazon. Our guests are CEOs of large companies and entrepreneurs who became power sellers, also providers specializing in helping sellers, aggregators that acquire sellers, and former Amazonians will give us an insight from behind the scenes. Here is your host, Nick Urison.
Welcome to another episode of Amazon Legends. My next guest today has a very interesting story because he was an Amazon seller who discovered how significant videos could be for driving sales and increasing profitability. And the reason why he discovered that was because his interest was in film in the first place, because he has a degree in film and production. So one day he decided, you know what, I'm not really that passionate about selling products, but I'm passionate about videos and producing them. So he now serves Amazon sellers and e-commerce sellers with media production. So today he's the co-founder of Amazon Videos, which is a media production company for Amazon and e-commerce sellers. And when he's not working, he likes to stay active, healthy, and work out. So he's one of those people you see always in the gym, keeping busy. So with that, everybody, meet my guest, Vlad Alexander. Welcome to the show, Vlad.
Nick, thank you so much for having me and for your kind words. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. So, I identify with you because I was an Amazon seller, but my passion was all about systems and algorithms and numbers. And I was looking for a way to make use of them. So, you have to learn it in the trenches, right? So that gives you the first-hand knowledge. So what we're going to discuss is I don't want to call it the secrets of media production, but really the right way to go about creating videos for your products. And most important, how to get the most out of them. So we're going to discuss best practices, how to pick providers if you're hiring people, how to hire the right person, and what should be the strategy behind that content. We discuss storytelling. So how does that factor in? And how do you use those videos? You put it up on your listing or anything else. So there's plenty of things here from soup to nuts, so to speak, media production. This is going to be the episode dedicated to that. And Vlad will help us dig into each one. He's got a very good understanding of the subject. But what we want to open with is the most common mistakes everybody makes when they build videos. So Vlad, share with us, what are those common mistakes?
Yeah, sure. So some of the mistakes that are commonly made, and this is probably more true for startups or businesses who are thinking about video production but don't have experience just yet. So one of the big ones I see is not having a budget. There are so many conversations that I have. We discuss, what it is that potential client wants. And once we approach the budget, they say, well, we didn't think of the budget. We don't have a budget. You tell me what the cost is. Well, the truth about, working with agencies and video production in general, it's like buying a car. Videos can be as expensive as buying a car, like Super Bowl video can be as expensive as buying a house. So, there are several things that I would definitely recommend, small businesses, especially when approaching video creation. So normally I would say my rule of thumb is if you have $1,000 or less that you are willing to spend or have, in your budget to spend on a video, probably the best bet would be to hire a freelancer, whether a local or you can hire somebody on, a platform like a Fiverr or Upwork. So that's generally where the prices are. Now, obviously, working with an agency or a company where you have many, many moving parts, you have, anywhere between 10 and 15 people maybe more in some instances working on your project. It's not realistic, to have that big of a crew to work on, $1,000 or so. So that would save small businesses time by trying to browse agencies while they can just go and hire a freelancer to start with, get their feet wet with the content, see how that goes. Probably make some mistakes on the way, learn, and then once business takes off, then start working with agency.
Yeah. And what else? What other mistakes do people?
Yeah. So another mistake I see oftentimes is in a, buying a creative in general. You can't really buy on price alone. That would be a mistake, because I always say that a marketing video to a business is like an outfit to a person. And so as a person, you would wear appropriate outfit depending on location or, where you're going. If you go to the beach, you probably will not wear a tuxedo. And so with the video, it's the same thing. So depending on where you want to place your ad, you probably want to think of the value. If you are looking to advertise through TikTok, then maybe a UGC TikTok video for $500 would be great. It's not really a problem. But if you're looking to place your ad on, maybe connected TV, that's not going to cut it. You probably would need somewhere starting with $15,000 or $20,000 for a good production with a script, great actors, and a whole new or a whole different production value, so that the audience will actually perceive your brand in a way that would make a move, essentially, in some way.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure people make a lot of mistakes, but what is the next common mistake?
Yeah, so I would say that not really considering service providers' portfolio. And there's another extreme that I see as well, is when brands reach out and they request a portfolio, and maybe even service provider worked in a niche in general, but they don't have that specific product yet. And the brand wants to see, basically the request they put out there is almost like they all want to see a video that they want already produced for somebody else. And if they don't see that example, they give up on the service provider. So I would say, to be fair, it is important for any agency or any media service provider to have something similar produced, of course, because let's say if I'm great at making videos for electronics, but let's say there's like a party supply brand that may need a different skill set, essentially, for production. That would be something to consider. But if I produce electronics, I just haven't shot that particular piece of electronics, but I have a range of other videos, then I would recommend not to give up on that service provider and see if that's something they could do. Because again, brands sometimes, the worst enemy is analysis by paralysis, because you can talk to many agencies and not find somebody who shot your particular product. So then you have to select the ones that have an experience in your niche. That's for sure.
Yeah, analysis paralysis, obviously. The best way to, there is an old story. In the very early days of the internet, there was this visionary entrepreneur whose idea was to sell cars on the internet. And his idea was for people to come to the website and search by make and model and year and accessories and things like that. And but the fundamental concept was, will people buy cars on the web? He had no idea. So they said to him, oh, you need to hold focus groups, and you need to, and then of course, building the technology, building this is a lot of money. So you know what he did? He said, you know, I'm not gonna spend so much money doing the studying and the focus groups. So what he did, he paid somebody a few $1,000s to put up a website that had all the bells and whistles that looked as if the website was for searching a car and buying it. So he puts out the a little campaign, spends a few dollars to drive some traffic. Guess what? Somebody placed an order. He said, that's it. People will buy cars on the web. I don't have to do any focus groups, no, nothing. He was the direct evidence by doing something. Now, did he deliver? Of course not, because the website was just bells and whistles. When you clicked submit, it looked like it gave an order, but there was no order, there was no nothing. So the best way to learn really something that matters is to do it. You can only, that doesn't mean jump right in, but at some point you have to say, that's it, let's get some experience, and then we can at least have a pretty good idea of what people will do. So, okay, so let's jump right into media production. So give us your take on what is the best way to go about producing videos that will increase ROI.
For sure. So we can transition with this too. So one other common mistake is for businesses not to have clear KPIs, or, basically a way by which they can say this collaboration with a media company was a success or not success. And so I would urge for any business to have clearly defined KPIs and make sure that those KPIs are well versed to the production company, so they understand what it is exactly that you want, because it is a unique experience. Unlike buying a car, for example, you are buying something that doesn't yet exist, and you may have one perception in your mind about what you're going to get, and you will get something else. So the more clearly you define and speak with, creative director or head of the studio on your production, the more it will align with your vision. And so the outcome will be more of what you are actually imagining in your mind. So that's concerning the creative part. Now, of course, the video is just, it's a huge opportunity now. What's interesting is that, Amazon.
Well, I want to ask something before you go on to the overall thing. What are some good KPIs to measure your provider that you would recommend?
Sure. Wow, this is such a big question. I would say that, well, first of all, you have to discuss, with your service provider, previous cases. And, usually agencies that are in business for several years have experience. And oftentimes, one of the other mistakes I see is that businesses don't listen to an agency or other experiences. They may have a certain perception, which they try to sort of like box you into and say, no, we need a video that is 1 minute long and not a 30 seconds. When as an agency, you say, look, in our experience with other brands, 30 seconds is the most that the audience will give you on this platform. A minute long will be wasteful in terms of production. You will spend more money, and then we'll have to drag out the story where people will not actually see the ending of it. So that wouldn't be a good thing. So I would say that for sure, before even KPIs are set, a thorough research and a good, honest conversation with an agency will definitely, do really good. Now, the KPIs, they have to be born out of the actual strategy. So any brand has to understand what the end goal of the video is. And most of the time, again, what I see startups do is that they create one video, actually one version of that video, and they hope that that one version of a video will get them more sales or get higher close rate, and it may do some uplift, in sales. However, customer journey right now is not non-linear, actually. So you have to have a strategy where you have multiple videos that are meeting your customers or your audience at different points, touch points where they're at. So you may show different content on your Amazon listing. You may show different video content on your PPC video or a video creative, as Amazon likes to call it. You may want to show different content on any external media traffic source like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and you may have something entirely different on your website. So first, for any brand, they need to clearly identify their target audience, and they need to identify where this audience lives, which media platform they attend most, what do they like seeing, what do they like interacting with in terms of media. And then, of course, figure out, okay, what media pieces or what videos we need to create. So that would be step number one. And from that, then, there can be a discussion, okay, what are some key indicators of success of this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what you are saying is define what your expected outcome is from the production, and therefore what you expect the agency or the provider to deliver, and then create your KPIs around it. So that's what you're saying.
So that's fundamentally what the difference is between an agency and just like a pure production or a freelancer, essentially. So agencies, normally what they do is they have, a strategy session where they talk with a founder or a CEO or a decision maker in the company, discussing the actual goals. Okay, what are the goals? Is the goal awareness? Is the goal, consideration, or maybe it's customer loyalty? We've had clients who would come into us and they wouldn't ask for a video necessarily that converts clients or customers. They asked us for a loyalty video that is more like a tutorial. So, okay, customer already purchased our product. Now we need to show them how to use it to avoid, a return. And so essentially so this particular company had a feature which was misunderstood by, users. So they wanted us to create a video that clearly shows exactly what the feature is and that it works and device isn't broken, because they experienced excessive number of returns on Amazon. And so we were able to create them a video tutorial that they included in their manual, they had on their listing. So even before somebody bought, they can understand clearly what this product does and what this special feature does as well for them.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so let's now dissect the whole media production. So share with us your approach.
So approach is pretty simple. We believe in that preparation is, so the time spent in preparation or pre-production is what drives the success of the video. So the more thorough preparation you have, the better outcome you will have as well. Because, for example, for us, pre-production may go anywhere between, a week and 2 weeks, in which time we would, have a script or a shot list, conceptualize everything based on the client's, feedback of what they want, of their goals. We would have casting, we would have locations, and as well as all the necessary props. So basically we have a casting director that would reach out to actors and talent, and we have about 200 actors and models in Austin, Texas, who we work with on fairly consistent basis. Since we work with about 30 niches, we have to have different types of actors. Sometimes, like this past weekend, we had production for a card game, and we needed to show entire family. So children, parents, and grandparents. That's a lot of actors.
I know it must be quite a challenge to shoot that, right?
Yeah, so basically most of the productions we have are all lifestyle based. Sometimes we can build lifestyle sets in our studio. Sometimes we would rent out Airbnb homes, and we would have to dress them up so they look realistic, clean, but like somebody lives there. And so just the preparation, set design, thinking of everything that needs to be in the frame, any props, product. Sometimes products need to be prepared as well if it's a product that needs to be assembled, put together. Sometimes we may have to go back and forth with the client on how to properly use certain feature, just to verify that we would properly show it. And then, of course, once client gives us a green light and says, yes, we like the script, we like actors, we like, location, since we would send them all the images of locations, we would send our clients also audition tapes so they can see actors in the video and feel their energy. Once they approve everything, then we go in and produce it. Usually it takes 1 to 2 days, depends on the scope of work, of course. And
so what I'm hearing is pre-production is key for the success, and the pre-production includes writing the script. And by script, you're talking about how the video will play out, and as well as if there are actors, if there is spoken words in it, what they will say, as well as precisely describing how they will act, walk versus walk fast versus run, right? All those things are scripting the video. So it's almost like writing a movie at the end of the day. That's what you're doing. So nobody starts shooting a movie before there's a script, and then there's all the casting, and so it's exactly the same thing. So all those things are included in the pre-production, right, Vlad?
yeah, absolutely. And in a frame, everything has to be meaningful. In other words, any prop, any piece of wardrobe, like we go as detailed as we would select wardrobe. Make sure there's no logos, make sure that the wardrobe is appropriate, for the scene. We try oftentimes, have our actors wear something neutral to make sure that the product is what stands out in the picture, rather than, an actor's bright green shirt. That's an extreme example, of course, but yeah, so everything has to work towards making that product look great. And the reason why you would have a script, it's like, army going into a battle. They need to have a clear strategy, a map, where are they going, how much time they're going to spend there, what are they doing next. Because once the production starts, production is by far the most expensive part of the process. Especially in United States, rates can be for a videographer, just a videographer for one day could be as high as $2,000, and that may not even include equipment. So equipment may have to be paid for separately. And there's so many other people on a set who make this come alive. So you would have a director who would instruct actors, who would place them in a certain mood. Most of the time, of course, commercials are happy, so you need to make sure actors are have a beautiful smile. You know, you have to pay attention, make sure that, so casting director, even before actors come in on the set, they will ask for their pictures of current nails to make sure that their hands are groomed, because there's nothing worse than a close-up shot of a product, you know, finger pressing on the button, and there's like a chipped nail or something is not right. Definitely takes away from viewers' attention. And believe it or not, we actually had clients who came to us and said that they worked with somebody else, and you know, that's what they gotten. It's just like, you know, fingernails that weren't nice, and just like strange things.
I have something important for all my listeners. Sellers lose money on lost or damaged inventory with Amazon, which can add up to a lot over a year. Did you know that there is a way to claim all your losses? GETIDA is the global leader in Amazon FBA auditing and reimbursements for Amazon FBA sellers worldwide. They deliver results with no upfront costs. They get paid only when you get paid. Visit www.getida.com/legends to learn more and sign up. And thanks to our friends at GETIDA, your first $400 in reimbursements will be free. That's www.getida.com/legends. And that's www.getida.com/legends. I tell you one of my experiences. I had a client who with a business owned by a lady who was very eager to do everything herself. So we had a photo shoot, not a video, but photo shoot for the product. And so I asked for somebody, and we actually created a script for the whole, so we storyboarded the pictures. And we put exactly, and in the requirements, we put somebody with clean nails, good looking, and blah, blah. And guess what? During the photo shoot, this lady jumps in, and then there is one where she's holding the box. So the photo shoot was over. She said, okay, it's done. And the pictures, I receive the pictures and I look at them. She's holding the box. Her nails are chipped. And afterwards, I said, listen, why don't you let people do the work that they are hired to do and just listen to them? I said, first of all, by you doing it, you're not really as good as them. Then why did you hire them in the first place? Number two, you're not even good at it. I said, look at the requirements we wrote and look at your fingers. Now, it's a very hard thing to say to a lady. But, you know, she owns the business, and then she's hiring people, and then she's jumping in doing. And so this, and as soon as you mentioned chipped nails, I remember the story. So, Vlad, I have a question for you. So it's very expensive to go into a full production. So why not take the product pictures and then pick up some stock footage and then turn into some kind of a video production to promote the video? Still professionally done, professionally edited, maybe add some animation. What is your take on it?
So you're saying having like a blend of stock footage and your photos? Yeah, I mean, to be honest, sky's the limit in what you can do creatively. What really disturbs me most of the time, even as a shopper, when I just shop on Amazon myself, is when it's done poorly. So when I see images that are clearly stock photo and the product isn't placed correctly, it's distorted, or the perspective doesn't make sense, what it does to a shopper, and since shoppers are savvy nowadays and they have seen good content, they may not explain why, but they definitely understand a difference between a brand that cares of their presentation and branded doesn't. And so it's disturbing to see something that looks wrong, definitely. And then you start asking questions like, why? Do they not have enough resources? Maybe their product isn't good. Maybe they threw it haphazardly and very fast. Should I even buy this? Should I consider this? I'm not saying that this is like a golden rule, but there's definitely a reason why brands try and invest into professional productions. Now, I've definitely seen a great amount of combinations like you described, as long as they're done well and there's good craftsmanship and still attention to detail. Like, for example, let's take a drink. You can just, in a studio, film a can that is spinning, on a 360 plate. Then you can take whatever stock image of palm trees or the beach or whatever, and basically place that rotating can into that, stock footage. If you do it right, it will look great, and it will not take away from the viewer's experience. So absolutely. So yeah, brands can definitely find clever ways to save on the content.
Yeah.
Here's another.
What I'm hearing from you is really depending on what right at the beginning of the conversation, you said something that stuck with me. If you are producing videos for social media, TikTok, Instagram or whatever, get user-generated content, pay a few bucks, even shoot it yourself, that's okay. But if you are creating video, or if you need a video for promoting your product, then obviously the most expensive way to do it is hire an agency that will go through the process of, creating a script, building a strategy, casting and shooting and blah, blah. Or you can have stock footage, stock pictures built with animation and turned into a video also can be done, which will be much, much, much cheaper, but even have that done professionally. That's what you are saying. Do not do it yourself. That's what you're saying, right?
Well, as a business owner, I did content myself. That's how I pivoted from being an Amazon seller to being a service provider, but I had formal training. I had, college education. Then I had several years of freelance experience. I worked on big productions here in Austin, Texas, some national TV commercials and things like that. So I knew the drill. Now, I would argue, depending on the product, even business owners without experience can pull it off. iPhone went a long ways, and you can definitely shoot a 4K video as long as you have good stabilization. Even now, I would argue, as long as you have a good plan and you think about what it is that you're doing, you can be successful. Now, again, it just, what really works great is that combination of where you place your ad and what kind of ad it is. So I'm thinking that even if you're a business owner, you can even self-promote on TikTok. And I've seen it done many ways. I've talked with guys who started TikTok channels and promoted their own products, like supplements, for example. And that works. So there's no right or wrong way. The golden rule is always be testing, always A/B test your content. And I would also say, to that extent, if you are investing money in professional production and you have those nice shots, see if you can negotiate with your service provider or an agency to get the raw footage of a production that you paid for, because these are normally very expensive. Why would you need raw footage? Just because you have one video, that video may not be bringing you the result that you were hoping for. You need to have multiple versions of that same video, and having the raw footage will definitely help you do that. Also, audiences, they would develop sometimes what is called banner blindness, is when they see something so many times, their mind just filters it out like it doesn't even exist. It's more popular with just, still banners and, photos on websites, but with videos, people can get desensitized as well, especially if you frequently, retarget them in your funnel. So what you want to do sometimes, is that maybe change the first shot or first two shots, or even like change the order of shots. Sometimes it can be as easy as that. That is easily done with product videos or explainers. Of course, videos that have more of a structure, some sort of joke, some sort of storyline that you can't restructure, may be more difficult. But even so, you can always test, and maybe you can create custom graphics. So open the video with a graphic shot of your product. Then maybe you can have a version that shows a person using the product in its ideal circumstance, like kitchen knife used in the kitchen, beautifully slicing some pork or something like that. And then maybe you want to test it with just showing a beautiful shot of your kitchen knife or whatever product that is you selling, just to see which video will have the most, the highest click-through rate. And so, yeah, I would highly recommend doing that and constantly reusing footage. That footage is very expensive, or I should say the way that footage is obtained is expensive. Production may be easily $15,000-$20,000. So, but you may be able to recut that footage for another 2 years, or as long as you sell the product. You may get some new footage and add old footage, mix and match. Sometimes you can add stock footage and just play with it, or have, if your company is large enough and you have internal department that is responsible for media, have them that footage and have them consistently test the performance. Because in many instances, the performing version may not be the version that you like, but it may be the version that your audience likes. So case in point, show your audience what they want to see, not necessarily what you think, is nice. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is very valuable. I understand this because when you have professionally produced outcome, it is just the result of the materials they work with. Those materials can be rendered in many other ways. So, so your suggestion is extremely valuable, because at the end of the day, you're paying for it. You're paying for the production of it, and just ask for it to be delivered. That should be, in other words, part of the deliverables, right?
yes. And one mistake that I also see Amazon brands or Amazon sellers do is they would pay, $5,000 or $10,000 for a video, and when we discuss the placement, they would say, "Well, just for my listing." And so then my question is like, wow, so are you not using this video for anything else? Are you not driving any external traffic? Are you not using even like PPC video? Because Amazon right now allows 6 different ways to reach audiences through video. It's like their recent podcast that they had with Amazon ads was very valuable. So right now you can use video ads as streaming TV, so your connected TV ads. And I would highly recommend those for products that you either sell in high volume or products that are fairly expensive. So it makes sense to actually run a connected TV ad on those, because those are pretty expensive TV ads. But there's online video, sponsored brand video, sponsored display video, Twitch, and also Amazon Live. So there's so many ways, even through Amazon platform alone, to have that video content driving traffic to your listing. So case in point, if you are spending so much money on a professional production, the listing itself, from what we know from Amazon brands, it doesn't actually raise your close rate or sales rate by that dramatic of a number. In fact, unfortunately, many shoppers sometimes even disregard listing video. Images may be enough for them to make a decision, especially if it's something trivial or something, you know, a household product that is like, okay, well, this is a silicone spatula. I'm not going to spend too much time, you know, on researching that. That looks like it has like 10,000 reviews and is the color I like. So it will do.
Exactly, yeah. Plus, you know, video takes time, and looking at a picture is a click, so it's very easy. So I can see that. So Vlad, I have another specific question about the kind of video. So this is something I heard for pictures. So as you know, we like to put products in the hands of human beings in the picture. So those lifestyle pictures are really, they are there to tell the story of how the product can be used. So what I heard recently was a lot of the times people have these lifestyle pictures or use case pictures where they have somebody full body in the picture holding the product or using the product. So I've been told that as human beings, we are immediately drawn to other human beings, specifically their eyes or whatever they are doing. So as a result, you don't actually see the product. You are looking at the person. So therefore, the suggestion was, by all means, use human beings in the lifestyle picture, but ideally do not show the face, show the hand or, you know, whatever the act is, so that you can bring the focus to the product. So first of all, what is your take on this idea? And the second is, how does that factor into the video production?
That's a great question. So I've been wrestling with this, and everything I know about Amazon in particular, basically what Amazon is, it's a catalog. Okay, so this is why I was saying have different versions of your content, and this is the same true for the photos. You know, it's not only for the videos, because perhaps on your listing the audience may be a bit warmer already. Since they clicked on your listing, they're probably interested in what you have to sell. They just want to make sure that that's the right fit for them. And so Amazon being catalog, sometimes on the listing, you can even have just a product spinning 360 or something like that if it's a simpler product, and maybe it only has one feature or one function, and you don't have to explain it in a great detail. That being said, in general in marketing, we have an understanding that people buy with emotions and then rationalize with logic. So I'm like that myself. Sometimes if I like something, I'll buy it and then tell myself later, you know, well, yeah, it was a good deal, but that color is so rare. I haven't seen it anywhere. So I did a great job by, you know, making sure that that item is now mine or whatever. So showing emotions help us connect on emotional level. I would say that I would definitely have both on a listing. Listings allow many photos. I think on mobile version you can have up to 7 images, and on desktop I think, what is it, 9?
I think Well, the image management on Amazon listings has gotten a lot more stressful because in the flat file, you have up to 12 alternative images you can submit URL for, and they rarely show up fully. And then Amazon recently introduced this image management module where you can bulk upload images, but they have to be named specific way, and you upload them and then it shows successfully uploaded, and then it never shows up on the listing, and then you have to follow up with seller support. So categorically speaking, there are 12 slots for other image URLs, and there are multiple videos you can upload. I don't know the limit to it, but really getting it done successfully is a bit of a hike. That's my latest.
Yeah, well, most of our clients request 7. They do it right. They optimize for mobile first, and that's what I would recommend for sure. So that may be why some sellers say that, is because once you start including, person's face, that forces you to have a wider shot, meaning that the product itself will be a smaller one in a frame. I would say that in general, the way we approach it is that we would have at least 2 images that show face. We had a project not long ago where, we shot a video and then we shot a series of images right on the set as well. And we shot basically shoulder down. And the client then said, "Why didn't you show a person's face? I could have done those images somewhere else, but I like this model. So I, in particular, wanted to see her full body, with the smile." So yeah, I would say there's no hard and fast rule. It's all very specific to each brand. Also, a lot of this goes to brand philosophy. And here's what I have to say. Amazon got very complex, definitely more complicated than when I was selling, in 2016 through 2019. And these days, you just have to understand, you aren't just selling something on Amazon. You are, hopefully in a long run, in a long game, and you want to build a brand. You want to have a philosophy. It's, if you're just thinking about finding something on Alibaba and placing your brand logo, that's not going to work. So you have to be unique. You have to have a unique approach in a way that you talk with your audience and in the way you show your product. So for some products, we divide products basically in those that solve a problem and those that fulfill a passion. And there's a different approach to each one. So those products that solve a problem, maybe you don't even necessarily need to show somebody's face. If somebody has a problem, they're eager to buy it. If in the first shot of the video, it clearly shows that drill can drill a hole in the wall and can do it fast, yeah, for sure. Now, if it's something like a passion product where, I don't know, you basically want for a viewer to see that emotion because that particular product brings them joy, it brings them happiness. And so you have to connect the product to the buyer through an actor who basically acts as sort of an extension of them. And you have to remember that until the buyer has your item in their hand at home, that video or that image is the only way they can experience your product. It's the only way. Unlike in a store where they can hold it, maybe even open it or interact with the product in some way, having e-commerce, basically makes the image and the video to be the only source of experience, and so make that experience great.
Yeah, yeah, it's so right. I mean, the way you put it, it's products that solve a problem, products of passion. And at the end of the day, let's say, for example, a pair of gloves, right? So cold weather. I know you live in Austin, Texas, so you don't see the cold much, but I know very well in New York City, it can be freezing cold. You never want to leave without a scarf or a pair of gloves. So if you're selling a pair of gloves or a scarf, that really is not a problem product. It's at the end of the day, it comes with different color, different fabrics, different. So it's going to be a passion. So you really want to show somebody who puts on those gloves or puts on that scarf and then feels warm. And that appearance of feeling warm has to show the full picture. And but at the same time, if it's like put a drill or something you use at your desk or mouse or whatever, it really doesn't matter. It's the product at the end of the day in the hand of the person that's using it, right? So it's a great way to put it. Vlad, so there's so much to talk about on this. We can never finish the subject. We can be talking forever, but you shared some very good tips from picking the provider, budgeting strategy, telling the story, and even down to what to put in the frames and what to do with the final production. So this was great. So I want my listeners to get to know you a little bit because you have a very interesting story. So take us back to the beginnings of Vlad Alexander. Tell us, where did you grow up, and give us your story.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So recently I thought of that, and I have been a citizen of 3 countries that start with a U. I was born in the USSR, actually. And then when I was, I think I was like 4 years old, USSR collapsed. I became citizen of Ukraine. And then in 2001, my mom married a Texan. And in 2004, I moved to the US, United States. So, and consequently became a citizen. And yeah, I'm just thankful to be here. But my homeland right now is in an interesting position. And yeah, so.
Interesting is a very humble way to put it. It's a very precarious position. I mean, everybody in the world supports Ukraine. I have, I have people that I work with in Ukraine, and I tell them it's just hang in there, because just wait, because this will also come to an end. And when it does, the whole world will come to rebuilding Ukraine. So there'll be many opportunities. So unfortunately, right now, what's going on because of a madman, that's what we have to put up with. So, so what I want to know is, so here you are in the, how old were you when you came to the United States?
I was 16.
So you were 16, you were like coming close to becoming an adult. So obviously you grew up in a totally different culture. And by the way, you've gone through the whole Iron Curtain days where the Cold War ends and the Ukraine independence. And then, of course, the problems. And then now you are in the US. So what was that like? Share with us as a 16-year-old young man. What was that like?
Yeah, it was very interesting. So back in my hometown, in Europe, most of cities they have everything that you need, a lot of civilization, a lot of old buildings and history everywhere. I had a lot of friends. And so here I am at 16 years old, moved to Texas. And my stepdad lived in a small town, and there's about 3,000 people. We actually lived outside of the city limits, in a field. He had a farmhouse, and we had a neighbor a mile away in any direction. So you can just walk out shoot a gun, yell, nobody will hear you. That was a huge change for me. That was in an era before Facebook. Even MySpace wasn't a thing back then. And so I basically instantly lost tens of friends. And I could only either write them actual physical mail, which I didn't have time, or call, which was very expensive. I think it was like, I don't remember, $1 a minute or something, but I had no job. I had no way to buy those minutes. So yeah, I lost all of my friends. I moved during the summer, so school was just out. So I didn't have a chance to even go to school and meet new people. So I met some guys through a local church, and that basically kickstarted my journey in US.
So how was it? Because obviously you are an entrepreneur, you're running a business, and also you're running a business that requires a lot of creativity. So when was it that you realized first time you had tendencies in those areas?
Yeah, so actually, even back in Ukraine, back in Ukraine, I had a 35mm film camera. It wasn't even like a SLR camera. It was regular point and shoot. And then after you shoot out your 36 shots, you go turn it in and somebody develops and prints the photos. And my friends and myself, we were just walking around the city, trying to imitate the cool shots that we've seen, maybe on album covers that the bands of the 90s had. We would try to dress up and kind of pose. And I found some interest in that. And then when I moved to the US, one of the guys at the school said, hey, so we have Friday night football games, and we need somebody to basically run a camera for a small local TV station. And so I started doing that. I started running the camera, and basically started getting into it. I made enough money, and I went and bought like a $400 Panasonic DV tape camera. And then my friends at school and we started just shooting fun videos. I started, playing around, putting music soundtracks, fun songs, and just experiment. So by the time I was senior in high school, I knew that I wanted to go to University of Texas for film program. And that's what I did.
So what about the entrepreneurial aspect of it? Because building a business, making money and things like that, when did that show up in your radar?
Yeah, so I had a very interesting journey, and I'll be vulnerable. I'm okay with that. I'll be honest. So after I graduated from UT Arlington with film degree, I moved to Austin, and I took a different route. So I went to grad school, and but because I moved to a different city, I lost basically my friends and all the film connections I built in the Dallas area. So I had to start from scratch here. And it was very challenging to sort of like maintain a good lifestyle. And I was freelancing for a year or two here. But then I got married, and I understood that just being a freelancer, going from gig to gig isn't going to cut it for having a family life and being able to support, a young family. So for a while, I left for corporate America, and I thought, well, all of my skills are in art. How about getting some skills in business? And so I worked for AT&T for 5 years, and I had very good business and sales training there. I was in the management. And then when I heard, actually from one of my coworkers, I heard about this Amazon opportunity. He described it like, yeah, my buddy just places an order in China and the stuff just gets shipped directly to Amazon. He never touches the product and he just makes money. So that caught my attention, and that was my first sort of like interest into, wow, I could build a business of my own. I can do something here. And so that's it was like 2015 or 2016. This is when I started researching, exploring, watched countless hours of YouTube videos, and my wife was very supportive of that. So we started that as a side hustle at first. Then we were mainly reselling somebody else's products, or other brands' products. That was a portion of arbitrage. Then we moved into private label. Then we started private labeling things, and eventually had a small brand in a baby category. So after some point, I realized that no, although it does make money, I don't see myself as constantly talking to suppliers. Obviously, with Amazon, there's tons of Amazon seller issues. You have to constantly talk to seller support and things like that. And this is when I saw an opportunity. I was like, well, I can connect my artistic skill set. I can connect my business skill set. And this is what I can do. Something I enjoy even when times are tough. And this is where I'm at today.
Yeah, I mean, as they say, follow your passions, and you can never be unsuccessful, so to speak. So it's a great story. I mean, I hear you in terms of losing all your friends in one go. I mean, people who are born and raised in America, go to school, really what they are doing is, at the end of the day, they're building a network, a support system, so to speak, around them. And as an immigrant, when you go to a different country, you are simply abandoning that support system. And now you are completely vulnerable out there in a foreign land that speaks a different language, different laws, different ways of life, with no support system. So, and that's what immigrants are used to doing. And it happens, but it's a huge deal. And without even having any support system, I'm not talking about support, financial or anything, just emotional, to be able to give you the energy to be able to just pull through it. And in such a vulnerable situation, to even start a business and start a family and then all that stuff is very it takes a lot of guts in my book.
Yeah, well, do you know of Brian Buffini? He's a motivational speaker and a coach. He has also a very good, encouraging podcast that he runs. So Brian Buffini wrote a book. He's from Ireland, and his story goes something like this. So when he was a teenager, I think he was like 18, he came to US to visit. He got into a bad motorcycle accident, basically spent months and months in the hospital. He came here with like $100 in his pocket. So, and then after doctors fixed him up, he was in debt with like $500,000. So he got into real estate, and now he has one of the most successful real estate coaching companies. And he wrote a book called An Immigrant Edge, which is kind of cool, where he argues that immigrants, simply because they come in from other places in the world that may not be as prosperous as US, once they get here, once they realize the potential and what they can build here, they put extra effort in doing whatever it takes to get the most out of this experience of living in the States. And so I think there may be something to it. I grew up in, I don't want to say in poverty, because my mom was taking good care of me, but definitely, Ukraine back in the 90s, very devastated after collapse of USSR. People lost their savings. There was homelessness and drunkenness. And I remember coming after school, and the government turned off the light, turned off the gas, turned off the heat, even in the dead of winter. They were saying that there's shortage in the country, energy shortage, and so they decided to conserve all of these, utilities right during the time where people come home from work, from school. And so it was crazy. You come home after school, it's dark, it's cold, and you can't even cook yourself a dinner. So,
well, Vlad, what I can say in really two words that I think you find in most immigrants who try to build a life for themselves, and it's they learn to be self-reliant. They don't because there's nobody, you don't know anybody. The system, I mean, in many cases, the system doesn't even recognize you, especially in America. You have to have a credit score, right? So when you arrive, you have no history, no score. And I remember when I came to America, I applied for my Social Security number, and then that was the first time I was able to do anything. And they said, well, the first thing you got to do is build your credit. I said, well, how do you build it? I said, isn't it better? I have nothing. I'm clean. He says, that's the irony. It's many cases, it's better to have a bad credit score than having no credit score at all. So you start in a place where you have no past, and then you build a whole life. I have great respect for people who do that. So thank you, Vlad. So tell us, how can people reach you, share your contact information for our listeners?
Sure. Yeah, you guys feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn. You can look me up, or my email address, which is vlad@azonvidsmedia.com.
Great. Thank you, Vlad. Great conversation. Very valuable information. Everybody listening, follow his recommendations and reach out. He's super nice guy. He'll give you any suggestions or any help that you need, and you're not going to be wasting your time. And thank you, Vlad. Great episode.
Nick, thank you. Appreciate your time today.
Before we wrap up, don't forget to visit www.getida.com/legends to learn more and sign up to claim money for your lost or damaged inventory with Amazon. Your first $400 in reimbursements will be free. www.getida.com/legends, and that's www.getida.com/legends. Thank you, and this brings us to the end of another episode, and I'll see you on the next.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the episode, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too.